Another issue too is trust. People have a hard time trusting God because they say, well, what if I do that, is he really trustworthy? Because in the past, A, B, C, and D, why did he let all this stuff happen to me? How can I trust somebody who would let that kind of thing happen? And it's a difficult question for me, but what I tell people is that God's design for us was to love him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and our neighbor as ourselves. And if we all did that, these things wouldn't happen. Instead, we live selfish lives and we wound other people. And those wounds can be not just here and now, but generationally. And they're not necessarily just local, but they can affect people globally. And we have to take into consideration the evil that resides in the world, that we do have an enemy that we are fighting, and we have the weapons to fight that enemy if we choose to take them. And God can be trusted with that he is the one that gives us the power to fight that enemy. And when we learn to trust the person who actually already is in charge, then there's a freedom that comes, and a peace and a calmness that we don't have to keep fighting so hard anymore to prove ourselves, to protect ourselves, and to try to maintain a Christianity that he gives us through his Spirit. One of the other struggles that I see people have is the fruit of the Spirit. They will talk about, I have to now live up to the standard of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. And the list is just too hard for them, and they think, I can't, if I give away all my wounds and I give away all my negativity, my labels of myself, then I'm going to have to live up to this new identity. And the reality is that your identity is already fixed. He designed you, and he's so excited about who you are, and hoping that you'll learn to walk and live in that every day, that when you surrender all the control issues and the fear, his Spirit lives through you, and a natural outpouring of that is the love and the joy and the peace, because the Spirit then is free to move through you. And it's the fruit of the Spirit. It's not the fruit of you, it's the fruit of the Spirit. And that is only available when you clean your life out of all the things that you know that are hindering your ability to receive that Spirit. The other thing that I hear often, men more than women say, is, I don't like being labeled as a victim, because the concept of identity abuse is being able to look into your past and say, what are the things that caused you to believe things that aren't true about you, that are negative and demeaning. And the point is not to label you. The point is to find the truth. What is the truth about your past? What is the truth about the things that you heard or perceived or witnessed that made you believe things about yourself that aren't true? And being able to say, that's the fact of my life. And it's not to stay there, because being a victim is sad if you stay there. And you don't have to, because he says we are more than conquerors in him who loved us, which is Christ. And one of the questions I asked is, can you be an overcomer if you're never a victim? What are you overcoming? And so to identify the issues in your past is just a part of the process, to be able to say, yes, this is true about me, and these are the things that I now believe about myself because of the things that I went through, but God is able, and he has a life for me, and an identity that he has already given me, and that I can embrace that and walk in that every day, regardless of what the world says about me. One of the last things that I hear often is, now what do I do? It becomes part of the doing of Christianity that, unfortunately, we embrace so often. If I do enough, God will love me more. God will approve me more. I will feel better about myself because I'm making God happy if I do more. The truth is that God's already happy with you. He may not be happy with some of the things that you think or that you do, but he's happy with who you are. And if you can grasp that concept that he designed you, he created you, and he's happy with who you are, then you can receive his love and receive his identity of you, to be able to embrace the truths about who you are in him. And then the doing becomes a response to that love. It's not a 12 steps to healing, which I know often people ask me, so what do I do, and what's next, and how do I do this? And the things that I tell them, if you really want to do something, take time to sit before God and thank Him for loving you. Thank Him for being kind and merciful, and allow Him to love you. If there's one thing that's going to change the way you see yourself, it's sitting in front of Almighty God who loves you dearly and receiving that love from Him. And in the light of that moment, you'll see yourself for the way He sees you, rather than seeing yourself for the way the world sees you. And then you'll be able to shed so many of the things that interfere with your ability to walk the walk that He has designed for you, and the joy and the freedom that He has prepared for you in advance before the beginning of the world. And the good works that we are to do are just an outpouring of His Spirit through us. They're not a list of to-dos. Often when people read the love chapter in Corinthians and they see love is patient, kind, on and on and on, they usually say that's a list of things that I need to do. And so what I ask them to do is, since we know that God is love, we put God in that verse rather than the word love, and we see God is patient and God is kind. And it gives us an insight to who God really is. And then the verses don't become a to-do list, they become an experiential list. Do I experience God with love and with kindness and patience and goodness? Well, one of the things that I notice too is that people don't understand their spirituality. It's a spiritual issue. It's not something that I do to perform to be done. It's an experience of life, and that your soul and your spirit are always engaging all the time in all of life. It's, are you aware of that? And how is it being affected by the things around you? How are you feeding it? How are you expanding on the knowledge of who you are? Are you allowing God to feed your inner